Previously in part 2.
Just so stressed to the eyeballs and you really worry about them.
Looking back at it now, do I want to be 50, burnt out, destroyed my relationships in a way? That's what a lot of people do.
I feel like with therapy, for me, it was just giving myself the tools to be able to cope with myself better, but also other people.
What would you say for people that are stressed? Because we talk about, was it the last episode we talked on where we got a lot of stuff from stress?
We did a mind bite on it a couple of days ago.
Yeah, we did
online.
a mind bite on it.
Yeah.
What's your sort of view on stress? Not just in the workplace, but for Mental Health Awareness Month, stress is going to be a massive thing.
Yeah, we talk about this a lot, and that's just the management of it. Again, a bit like anxiety, is everyone will feel stressed in their day-to-day. There's not a day where I don't feel stressed for some reason, whether it be on the drive here or the drive back, or stress with clients or anything to do with work, stress with you. Like there are always times where we feel stressed at things. I think it's just
Don't
about
stress you out that much.
No comment. No. So I feel like it's just it's a management thing, and we spoke about this at length the other day on a mind bite all online, and it was fascinating because to know sort of the ins and outs and the goings on of people that really cope with or don't cope with stress. And some people you can see day to day who are just so stressed to the eyeballs, and you really worry about them, something really severe happening to them. Because like you say, like with your dad, for example, he works in the city for God knows how long. He must know people who have had serious like issues as a result of just the work life of working 18 to 20 hours a day in the city, slogging it for. You might be earning really good money, but for me, I look at that and I see.
Is it
people,
worth it?
But I see that and I see people doing that day to day, and I think there's just no way in God's green earth I'd ever want to do that. It doesn't matter how much money I could be earning. I see people who are 30 years down the track. I'm like, nah, give me my life over that any day of the week, and I'm fortunate that I can choose not to.
What do you think that mentally has an effect on those people? Like, when they're done from it, do you think that will have a big mental effect? Being
Huge.
like 18, well, obviously 18-hour days, some people do that.
Yeah.
And do you reckon when they finally stop it, it's
They're
just like,
screwed.
What do I do?
Yeah,
like,
mentally, physically, they're completely dust.
burnt out at like 30.
Like, and the rest. Like, you see people in their mid to late 20s who are being made to work. I say being made to. You can leave, but I know it's not as easy as just saying,
yeah, it's not
I'll
as
go
easy
somewhere.
as just
It isn't as easy as that. If you're working for a law firm, in the beginning you're expected to work, and they'll say that. They're like, you're paid for 8 hours a day, but if you don't stay until 10 p.m, then we'll find someone else who can replace you. So I feel like if you're the kind of person who can cope with that, then fine. I'm unfortunately not one of those people who can cope with that, as I found out in the city. So I feel like it's a stress management thing. And to answer your question, I feel like you see people who are your dad's age, older, younger, some way younger, who are completely and utterly burnt out by the life of being overworked, sometimes underpaid for their work, and they're just worked into the ground, and they're mentally and physically really see the effects of it, and it's scary.
Stressed out their nut.
Yeah.
And it's just, in my opinion, obviously it's so easy to be like, in my opinion, don't do this. But really, in my opinion, it's just looking back at it now, do I want to be 50, burnt out, destroyed my relationships in a way? That's what a lot of people do. It's like, no, I want a really nice balance, and it's hard to find that balance, and there's a lot of hard work still. But having that balance in terms of my mental health, physical health, relationships, work is so important to me, and I actually think it's massively important to the generation coming through, my generation, and a lot of people want that perfect balance. They want to go on holiday, they want to travel the world for a little bit, and I think that will start coming to the forefront, I think, a lot more soon as well. Yeah,
I think it's really important that we sort of raise a next generation of young adults who are okay with their, being okay with not being okay, which is a really commonly used phrase, but it's true. But at the same time, giving them the tools to be able to manage that, because we are in danger. And I mentioned this months ago. It might have been on our first or second episode we did together.
What, back at episode 1?
Yeah, it might, or maybe the second one we did together, which is the two of us, where we are in danger of just telling young kids it's okay to have anxiety and depression, but then they're a bit like, okay, and what now? I've ripped the Band-Aid off and I've told you my problems, but you've not told me how to fix them. So I feel like it's imperative that we tell kids and young adults, even older adults, people older than us and younger than us who haven't gone through that period of their life yet, where maybe they're coming to terms with the fact that things aren't all rosy on the surface and that they are suffering, that we say, okay, fine, we'll hear you, but here's how you can do better, whether it be moving more, your nutrition maybe needs to change, or all the above across the whole board. And that's how we can help people get into the workplace and work those 12-hour days and not feel like they're really depressed after it, because we are in danger of, I mean, I hate the words like snowflake, but we are in danger of creating a generation of young adults who aren't okay with being not okay, and they don't know how to cope with it, because it's like, well, you told me that I'm not okay, but then you've not told me how to not be and how to fix that and
that's
how to be better.
Stuff like this, so people can actually take the tools that we post. We're obviously, we're not doctors, we're not psychotherapists, we don't have,
but we get them on.
We get them on. You can listen to them, and we also talk from our point of view, our mental health journeys, battling depression, anxiety, living with ADHD every day, and giving our 10 cents on what actually works for us. Might not work for you guys listening, but even just having people just being like, maybe try this, rather than just being like, you have this, what now? Unlucky, mate. It's like, why it grinds. It really annoys me when that stuff happens. Like it's actually like wound me up just when you were saying that. We talked about that. I remember the chat episode 10 or something, and it's very frustrating. Coming back to the episodes, on episode 1, we talked about psychotherapy with yourself. For Mental Health Awareness Month, if you're new here, Joe did psychotherapy, thought it was amazing. I've done CBT therapy before. I've seen a child psychologist before. All these things were great for me. I want to talk about support systems. For Mental Health Awareness Month, what type of support systems can people go see in every aspect of life that has worked for you, and what advice would you give? Because I know some haven't worked for you as well. So I feel like touching on what you just said then, I feel like it's just for, again, anyone who's thinking, where do I start? I feel like it's just about understanding what works best for you as an individual, and that sounds really cliche and obvious, but for me, I think it was the 3rd or 4th therapist along the road before I found Nikki Anstey, and she actually really reminded me of Dr. Mark Rackley and how they work and how they speak and how they project themselves. The first 2 or 3 therapists that I'd seen were similar, but I just didn't like how they were. I didn't really connect with them. I couldn't open up, and that's more than half the battle of seeing a therapist, is just being able to be having an open conversation, just like you and I are now. And this isn't actually too dissimilar to how therapy works for a lot of people. It's just sitting in a room or online, as most things are nowadays. I prefer to have the face-to-face connection, because that's how I work and operate. The whole online thing there's too much sort of falseness. There's not a face to see, even though it's through a screen. But kids nowadays probably are more experienced with on-screen stuff than maybe I was when I was their age. So I think both have their place as well.
Oh, massively so. Some prefer it.
Like you said, finding what works for you is so important, because online, for some people, like sort of getting in the car to go and see someone, that stress of being like, oh my gosh, I'm about to talk about problems, rather than just logging on the computer, having the comfort of being in your own home. That's why I think there's such like a nice balance between them both, and like you said, finding what works best for you. I think and not just that, is I think that online now, if you to type in therapist for, I don't know, boys and girls under the age of 16, and you can find a plethora of people out there now, whereas maybe 20-30 years ago you wouldn't have done. There are so many different options and availabilities out there, and if you aren't going down the NHS route and going through a GP, which again takes a long time, if you have the luxury of being able to afford to see someone, and I would say this, is that it's worth the money doing if you can find the right person to do it, because you can't put a cost on your mental well-being, because the knock-on effect it has on later on can be, life altering or ending, in some cases. So it's finding the right balance and things that work best for you, but also at the same time is sorting out your nutrition or, your physical health as well, because the 2-3 go hand in hand. It's a bit of a sort of a revolving door of, if you can fix one thing, it usually has a knock-on effect on the other. And if things are so bad, of course, you can then see a therapist or medication.
Medication as well. There's a space for that, which I know that you and I have spoken about at length. So there's those.
We found exercise was one of our massive ones. We talk about this on every podcast. There'll be people who are tuning into this being like, here they go again. Yes, we are, because we are going to provide as much advice for new listeners and people listening who are just wondering what they can actually do to better their mental health. And exercise has been something that's been huge for both of us, whether that's rugby, CrossFit, Pilates, which has been actually pretty big for you, which we talked about on the last episode, Pilates. We're talking about breath work in a way that can be exercise of some kind. And we have tons of things like yoga as well, which we spoke to Annabelle about. But for me, the biggest one was rugby. And what comes with exercise is not just the physical health, but also the community of it. Rugby and CrossFit, having the community of the gym, meeting people, getting out, knowing that even if your brain's telling you don't do it today, stay in bed, it's really cold, going out there and proving to yourself that you can do it. Being in a community of people, like-minded people, it's only going to boost you up. We talk about this every time with physical exercise, and I think it's so important to highlight it, especially on Mental Health Awareness Month, is doing things you're not comfortable doing, going to places, meeting people when your brain's telling you, no, stay in bed, stay at home, skip today, it doesn't matter. Actually going out and proving to yourself that you're going to do it allows you to just up yourself one every time with your mental health. And I think it's so important.
Huge.
I want to say as well, we talked about the resources and support type thing. We've given our views on medication before. We've given our views on psychotherapy, CBT therapy, community. What are some misconceptions that you think about mental health treatment? Because a lot of people just, in my opinion, are constantly like, oh yeah, but you're going to have to do this and you're going to have to do this. What have you found were the common misconceptions when you have gone through things?
It's a really good question. The biggest misconception, I think, is that if you ever go to see someone and you reach the end of your, let's say, 6-week program, or you reach the end of your medication, you've come off it, is that you think that's it. You think that that's like you're cured. I don't think that with mental health you're ever properly cured of anything. I think it's always going to stay with you. But I feel like we came on to earlier, it's just learning to cope with it in everyday life and give you the tools to be able to manage those bad days better, and obviously enjoy the good days, more as well. Because on my good days, I was always thinking, yeah, but tomorrow's going to suck, therefore today's not that great. Whereas now I enjoy the good days for what they are, and I go, tomorrow's not been yet. What's the point worrying about it? So my mentality shifted. So I think the misconception, to answer your question, I feel like is that there's just this there's going to be an end to it, and that sounds a bit sort of morbid to say. It sounds dark.
I know what you mean.
It's realistic, because anyone who says, oh, but when did your mental health stop? I was like, who said it stopped?
Yeah.
I didn't say it stopped. I'm not the complete package. I still have bad days, and I feel like it's a realistic thing to tell people, is that you're not just going to click with your fingers one day and be like, oh, I'm cured. It's not like that. It's there are good days and bad, and you got to take the rough with the smooth. I feel like with therapy, for me, it was just giving myself the tools to be able to cope with myself better, but also other people. So for the people that are in my life who I wanted to not necessarily get rid of, but maybe manage better, and for those listening and watching this who go, yeah, but I'm managing a narcissist in my family, how do I get rid of them? It's not necessarily a relationship. It's, well, yeah, I hear that because I had the same thing, and it's managing them better. So for me, it was a management strategy, and the misconception was that you just click your fingers and then you've been to therapy, therefore you've seen the light. No, it's just giving me the tools to be able to cope with my life better than what I was before. What about you?
I was going to say what you said at the start, and that's what I was thinking then. I'm trying to listen to you, and I'm trying to think of another misconception. Is I actually think you hit it spot on. And I never say that.
No, he really doesn't.
I never
clip
say that. Yeah, clip that. Put it on the Instagram.
Yeah.
No, mate, I completely agree.
Yeah.
I think it's what you said about it doesn't just disappear. It's always there. I just think that's so true, and I think that's not a common lie as such, but like a lot of people will just be like, go see this person, and like it's done after that. It's like, it's not. You can minimize these things, but they're always in the back of your head, and you're always going to have dark days. And it's just learning to minimize them, understanding yourself like I do now. Just as I touched on before with ADHD, if you heard that part, was having my low points, having my high points. It's knowing the low points coming. I can't control it. I could go out this room and it could happen. But it's like knowing that and being like, I'm in a low point. Don't worry about it. It's not cured. My ADHD is not cured. It's never going to be cured in my example. But I think it is just recognizing that. And I think it is a massive misconception, which I feel like, I'm not sure why people think if you go see like a therapist, it's done, but it 100% equips you with the skills to go and improve it and keep building on it every single day to the point where you can minimize it. And it's not bothering you every day. It's bothering you maybe once a week or once every 2 weeks, once a month. And then I think that's what it's actually about. And then sticking to that discipline of actually sticking to what works and not going back to what doesn't work.
I think you're absolutely spot on. I think to answer your question, I don't know the answer to this per se, but I think from my experiences, you see enough stuff of clickbait articles online saying how to fix your mental health.
Yeah.
And they'll click on it and being like, oh my God.
Because it gets them
my mental
money.
has been poor. I'm going to click on this, how to fix my mental health. And then at the end of it, you have to sign up to a newsletter or a course from Jay Shetty costing you $8,000. And by the end of it, you're like, I'm no better off. And I've wasted weeks, potentially months of my time, all this money on something, and I'm no better for it, because the initial thing said you could fix something. It's not. It's just learning to be better in your own skin and you sort of compartmentalize everything that's happened in your life and give you, like you say, give you the tools to be able to cope with life better than you were beforehand. And there's so much nonsense out there about fixing everything. It's not about fixing. It's about sort of maybe getting over a trauma in your life and maybe moving past that trauma rather than living within that, which is Anna Lee spoke so much about. If you haven't seen the Anna Lee video, guys, or heard it, I highly recommend it.
Best trauma chat possible.
It honestly was fascinating. Anything trauma based, from relationships with your friends, family, loved ones, do check that episode out. It was honestly fascinating. It was so good. So I feel like
she's got loads of episodes as well, not just ours.
Yeah, not just ours. She in general is an absolute guru.
An
absolute guru. So I swear by her. So yeah, I feel like it's more to do with that than it is about fixing things. And I think you see a lot of stuff on the internet now, particularly nowadays, where the end product will be that you see enlightenment, and actually the reality is it's not quite like that.
Completely agree.
Yeah.
If you could give people one piece of advice that you've learned, you've taken, we always ask this at the end, but specifically for Mental Health Awareness Month, what would that one piece of advice be to the people listening?
If you're listening or watching this and you feel like you're so far from the end of your journey and you don't know quite how to start, just start by opening up to someone. Find that one person. It might not be your mum, your dad, or your best friend. It could be a teacher at school. Find someone who you know you can confide in, and just start the conversation. That's the one thing I'd say, is start the conversation, and you'll look back in a year or two's time and think, thank God I did, because it seemed so insurmountable before you started it, and now it seems like it was so easy because you can talk to other people about the same journey.
Yeah, I love that.
Yeah.
Mine would be just start trying things. Please just start trying things. There'll be a lot of you listening to this, watching this, who are lost. People who don't know their direction to go in. People who are struggling with family, with friends. Don't know what they want to do for work. Don't know if they want to go to university. What they want to do after school. What they want to do after university work-wise. Do they want to do a ski season? Do they want to travel? Do they want to have kids? Start trying things. And I promise you, slowly, you'll mess up. You'll mess up. We all mess up. But slowly things will start falling into place. And I think things like Mental Health Awareness Month are so important for this. Bringing the mental health problems to light and saying, start trying things. Start doing, a cookery class. Start going to the library to read that book. Start going for that coffee with your friend. Do things. Get out. Start trying things. Please, please don't sit in bed and let this eat you up. I know a lot of people watching this will be suffering with that and struggling to get out of bed and sleeping the whole day and staying up all night. Build that routine, get out, start trying new things, and you never know. We started this podcast. We didn't even know we were going to like it. It's become the best thing we've both ever done. And it's the amount of people we've met, the community we've built has just been the single most rewarding thing I personally have ever done in my life. And it all started from trying things and messing up 3 or 4 goes before, and then the 5th one, here we are, and it's the best thing I've ever done. So please start doing that. For Mental Health Awareness Month, we hope you guys have learned something in this episode. If you haven't, all our past episodes have tons and tons of specific information from our specialised guests. So people like Dr. Mark Rackley, Anna Lee Howling, just to name a few. We talked about yoga on the previous one. We have had loads of people on, hopefully loads of things that can equip you guys with the essential tools you need to make the most of Mental Health Awareness Month and really go out there and start bettering your mental health. But for the meantime, I'm Tom.
And I'm Joe.
And this is InsideAMind. Stay safe.
Cheers, guys.
Woo.